Greetings, fellow targeted individual. Now, when I first moved here to Austin, I had strange encounters with my neighbors and I was mobbed and harassed by them. And you can see some of the videos that I have that are unlisted if you go to the YouTube search for City of Austin video files. And if you go to that YouTube channel that I have, scroll down to the very bottom and click on the City of Austin playlist, and I have some of my unlisted videos from my main channel, which is pretty much shut down right now. So hold on one second. So I started having these strange encounters where I would exit supermarkets, churches, and I would find sometimes 30, 40 white cars in a straight line parked next to my vehicle, 12 at church, 6 on each side of my car. I'm like, what the heck's going on? And I started being harassed in different places I was going to, and eventually it was everywhere I was going to, I was being harassed. Started noticing my cell phone light was flickering, remote dialing, having to get numerous cell phones, and I started realizing that something wasn't right because I was being harassed and these people would walk back to these white cars parked next to my vehicle. So I want people to know that these federal agencies, they get police and they get local store clerks, cashiers. They get them involved in this at times if they're affiliated with the Citizens Corps program. A lot of the cops are getting training from regional councils, which are tied to the Citizens Corps program and InfraGard, etc. So they will tell cashiers, hey, treat this person this certain way. We're trying to get them out of the community. But what they don't know is that everywhere you're going, you're being treated like this. And I've actually witnessed a cop do this in another state right in front of my face and, hey, give this guy a hard time. And I never even met this guy in my life. I just got out of school and I was being harassed in a school and had to leave there. So this is all about making the target feel uptight. So I was parked here and I pulled out, and what do we see? Every car here is white. Every single car. Now, no one was gang stalking me and harassing me. So there are some people which have become sensitized to colors and cars because they've experienced so much mobbing. And what happens is that when they see a bunch of white cars, it instills fear for some people. For men, it can be rage, and that rage could turn homicidal for some targets if they are not strong-minded and if they're mentally imbalanced. They don't have their marbles intact because they've let the anger control their bodies. And violence has no place in a civilized society. Do not get angry if you see 6 or 7 or even 20 white cars parked next to you. Violence is not the answer, and it's unacceptable, and there's no reason for it. But realize that at times, a lot of times, this is a coincidence, and also this is a spiritual war that we are fighting. It doesn't matter if you're Buddhist, Christian, whatever. I lean more towards Buddhism. For me, this is a spiritual battle. And we look at Star Wars. What do you see? The evil forces driving, a bunch of white vehicles, which are little white drones. So a lot of times this is a coincidence, and sometimes these people will go by areas before you're going to pass by them and be in their cars and then reverse once you pass by. Street theater. So let me see the National League of Corporations. Let me pass this right here. I was doing some research on the NSA and this program right here. Let me pass that. So, oh, and then also, your police and not even your federal agencies have to get involved in your gang stalking at times in many mid-sized cities. And what happens is some targets have been targeted by extremely wealthy people due to an accomplishment. They're jealous, envious people, just powerful people that like to trample on people's rights, looking for someone to bash, looking for a target. And these people will utilize regular small businesses. This can be your local mom and pop gas station down the road from your house. And Citizens Corps, they'll talk to the different people. InfraGard does this, of course, and also even the Secret Service, CIA. They've been known to do stuff like this. So it can be any defense contractor. You can do research on Department of Homeland Security's prime contractors, and just type one of their names up and see how many are in your city, and you may be surprised. They may have 5 or 6 offices in your city in every district, because some of them are operating as police forces. Some of these groups have more people than your local fusion center in them, so they're doing stuff that they're not even supposed to do. That's not under the guidelines of our Constitution. So these people will talk to maybe a nail salon lady at a HEB supermarket. Like in my case, I have a video where I was being harassed in HEB by this lady. It's a micropigmentation artist, and they recruit women business owners, and they sign non-disclosure agreements, letting them know that you can't disclose nothing, all this stuff under national security rules, all this stuff. So, and I'm not saying this comes from the CACI. I'm not saying anything bad about them because I don't have any problem with them. I'm just trying. I took a snapshot of this because I want to let people know just how deep this program can get, and how any defense contractor can utilize all these different people. So it doesn't have to be a police station doing this. Now, of course, the police are involved in this. And hold on one second. I've mentioned about how law enforcement in the past eavesdrops into our OnStar. And then also we have to look at Dr. Kenneth Westhewes. Okay, let me share something with you. And he mentions here, let me see, clearly states his opinion that community mobbing, also known as gangstalking, is responsible, in his opinion, for 1/3 or half of all mass shootings. Isn't that sad? And we see now that police are actually covering up the crimes of these people. And in many cases, there's actually actual proof that they have failed to investigate, failed to file out reports because they want to cover up the crimes of their and you know, fusion center stakeholders, Department of Justice, and so on. And I believe this is perhaps his website, or perhaps someone that admires his research. So if you want to get a court expert opinion, you want to go to people like Kenneth Westhewes. Um, Here's different cases here, and these are all cases concerning like mobbing. And look, we see here, what's that one guy? Remember the Virginia Tech University mass shooting? There's a lot of evidence which states that he was mobbed. And I've done research on mass shootings, and virtually every single school mass shooting that we've had, the person experienced some type of mobbing activity. So let me go here, and then we see also um, let me see, where's the page I'm looking for? Oh, this is also a great book. It's called The Private Sector and Criminal Justice by Stuart Lester. Check it out. Bear me one moment. I'm looking for a page here, and I do not know where it went. So we know that the judicial branch, and also, okay, hold on a second. Oh, here it is. The executive branch and its cabinet is made up of these different organizations. And these different organizations are tied. Something like Small Business Administration works with InfraGard and different groups because they, like I mentioned before, let me see if I can find that photo. Hold on a second. I'll look for it in a minute. I don't want to mess the video up. Okay, hold on. Maybe it's back here. And the same thing goes with the Small Business Administration. They have, a large database of businesses, so they can, contact different people about different business opportunities which could help, make their business better. So a lot of people that are harassed in the community are also harassed by defense contractors. And all they have to do is say, hey, sign a contract. You're a disenfranchised business. We can help you. So the executive branch has the ability to stop your harassment because they have so many people. If you're experiencing harassment nonstop in your country, and your government, if you've contacted the White House, the NSA, the CIA, and you have not received any phone calls or any communication, know that something isn't right. So you want to show that you're trying to communicate and trying to reach out, so that way there is proof that you've made an effort to communicate. Now bear with me one moment. So let me keep going here. So, okay, let me go here. Found this interesting here. About fourth generation warfare. And then we also know that this program is also tied to FEMA. So we have this all hazards approach. So we have defense contractors, which are all getting into this and profiting off your misery. So why would they want to let you go from their pool of people they can target? So they try to pry off the weak or disadvantaged people that don't have a lot of resources, so that way they can profit off of you. Bear with me one moment.
Greedy agent provocateurs. The FBI has a history of that. And these people utilize infraguard, de facto laws, discretionary action, like I mentioned in my last video. Let me stop it here and let me go back. Bear with me one moment. Let me go back. So when you're a target, hold on a second. When you're a target, you may experience some strange stuff. Now we see one truck here, it's probably black, but we see all these other cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's probably another one behind here, white. And that's no big deal. But when you experience this quite a bit, you're on the road and say you go to some place to have coffee, and when you exit that place, you find there's 50 white cars in a straight line. Something isn't right. And gang stalkers do that because how are you going to dispute that? You're going to sound crazy if you say, hey, everywhere I go, I got a bunch of white cars around me. Now, they operate a lot of times at gas stations. We see here, every car here is all white. That's no big deal because sometimes it could be a corporation or a company all together going to a meeting, whatever, and they're all driving white vehicles. But what I've noticed about companies is that most companies they will buy vehicles that are all the same model. It's like the U.S. Air Force will have blue trucks or white cars and U.S. official government tags. Well, you're not going to see them having different types of cars. Only the fusion centers do stuff like that. Not even the FBI does this. So this is stuff to watch out for. And they like to kick a person when they're already down, when they're already out of luck, when they don't have nothing to lose, when they're at their bottom. These people will harass you and terrorize you. And then also note that law enforcement, they've been accessing this XM radio OnStar for the past 15 years. This is an old article from 2017. And they can listen into your conversations. This is even when OnStar is off. This was happening to DHS whistleblower Julia Davis, which was harassed everywhere she went. Julia Davis was harassed every single day. She was terrorized. She was experiencing foot patrols and harassed in every area of her life, along with her husband and her friends, which are now dead. So when you're a target, Do not trust your local constable, your sheriff, your police.
Greetings, fellow TIs. Now, a while back I made a video called Stalking and Harassment is Unethical. If you do a YouTube search for that video, click on that user's profile. That's my YouTube profile. And also check out my video called April 2019. If you have not seen it, watch it very carefully, because a police report was filed concerning this incident. And you really have to watch every bit of it to understand what I go through thousands upon thousands of times per year. So, if you watch that video called Stalking and Harassment is Unethical on YouTube, excuse me, and you scroll towards the end, like the last minute, I mentioned this lady's tag. And I've had numerous encounters with this lady. She wears a black suit, a white dress shirt, and a tie. And her partner dresses just like her. And I've caught her one time at a H-E-B supermarket buying the same products I was buying pretty much. And I caught her driving a black SUV that time. The second time, she was driving a car with one headlight, and she was riding my tail with one headlight. And that same day, I started having encounters with people in groups, mobbing me. They were driving on the road with one headlight, but turning every street I was turning down to. So I go into a McDonald's, and I see this old man on a phone, and he's outside this place that I'm eating. And he grabs a rag from the back of his car and removes a fully functional headlight. He doesn't even turn the car off. It's like this guy was an extreme. He was in a big rush to follow these orders. The exact moment I leave there, he follows me with one headlight. I'm thinking, what the heck is this? So I was being harassed 24 hours a day. And Ted Gunderson, he was an ex-FBI agent. Most of us targeted individuals, we all know about him and what he said about this program. So I found myself being systematically harassed 24/7. This is no joke. I'm entering and exiting stores, when I'm going to church, when I'm in line at a Panda just to buy food. You would not believe how sophisticated these gangstalkers are. These people utilize OnStar, GPS tracking devices, all types of technology to track people. I might be quiet for a moment, so I think I'm passing by people. This is a good spot for me to make this audio. Oh, excuse me. Hey, boy. So I come into nature to get away from it all and to gain peace of mind, because harassment can make a person angry. Let me go back to this woman though. And I mentioned her tag in that video that I talked about. Stalking and harassment is unethical. I mentioned her tag. I have her name written down. I've mentioned it in the past video. So I started having more encounters with women with the last name Collins. And if you watch my video, this other channel that I mentioned, you will see a lot of these people's names are Colin, which is nice. So, oh, this is all muddy, shit. Not good. Especially if I'm going to be walking through here. Ugh. So I might have to go to find a water hose up front there. So this lady, I had also another encounter with her at a FedEx. And there was a guy, there's two printers there. the other printer wasn't being used, and it's on the other side of the store. And they stand there, hovering right over me, like, and I'm like, there's another printer there. They didn't buy nothing. They just walked out. Then I catch her again at a FedEx with her arms crossed, not buying anything, just standing there right behind me. And the exact moment I leave, she leaves. I started coming up with ideas to catch these people. And the idea that helped me out the most when you're experiencing, harassment like foot patrols, was to keep a pattern of places that you like to go to and make sure that the enemy knows exactly the places that you may be going to. And then sometimes if you have an appointment, show up, maybe just, if you know something, just leave. And sit out in front and see what's going to be going on, because there was a time that every time I had a doctor's appointment, someone would walk in and wave at me, and they would sit down. And I would be in there maybe 2 hours. We're doing blood work, all types of stuff. The exact moment I walk out, they would walk out. And what I found weird about this is that one time I went to a hospital, and there's thousands of parking spaces there. My doctor referred me to go to this doctor because I had an issue and needed to be treated. So there's thousands of parking spaces, and I'm parked in the very back, and I start noticing that a bunch of cars was like, they would park, and then they would just look at me, and then they would reverse. Park, car after car. And I'm thinking, something isn't right here. I've already seen 8 cars in less than a few seconds, less than a minute. Park here and then leave. Park, then leave. Park and leave. I'm like, something's not right. So I was being harassed at HEB supermarkets, and this lady bypasses the security there, and she's wearing an HEB shirt. And the people noticed that there were some people there that didn't have an appointment. They were so concerned because they noticed that I noticed what was going on. And the lady bypassed security and talked to this woman in the very back about me. And then afterwards, I was denied treatment. They're like, oh, no more treatment. So what these people do is they utilize stakeholders from the post office, radio ham operators. This can be WeWork. It can be literally thousands of businesses. And they'll talk to local businesses nearby where you live. And they'll tell these businesses, hey, we need help with, community outreach, or small businesses that need a contract. And then these small businesses will be utilized, and they'll say, hey, you want to work with us? You have to do some things that we say. That's how the contractors work. And these people will do stuff so that way they can make extra money. So they may say when the target walks in, treat them badly. So I started having encounters at gas stations, I would say around 2004, 2005. And then around that time I started having encounters with firefighters, EMS. Strange encounters. Sometimes they seem threatening. Encounters with people from the local city. A tremendous amount of harassment from people that are involved in parks and recreation. Excessive community policing. I can be with my girlfriend and we're like, hey, we're just having a picnic. Can you leave us alone? Then it got to the point where I just told the guy one day, I got so tired of it, I says, hey man, go back to your Masonic Lodge or your KKK meeting. We're here just eating food. Leave us alone. And I told him I'm recording what's going on. And it stopped. And then after a while it was a different group. Then a different group. Then a different group. And a different group. And what happens is a lot of times these things happen without the knowledge of your city commissioner, city mayor. And they don't care if the state governor knows or you complain about it, because your state governor can't do nothing. Remember, especially if they're in support of anti-Americanism or bills that go against constitutional rights. Hold on 1 second, I'm wiping off this mud. I guess I shouldn't have wore sandals coming through here. So I had no idea it was going to be this muddy. Normally it's from people of different nationalities, Jewish, Black, Mexican, religious groups. I have a tremendous amount of information I would love to share with counterterrorism agencies, intelligence agencies.
Okay, let me see what else I have here. Okay, bear with me one moment. Now, many TIs know that I ended up having a conversation with the guy that admitted working for Citizens Corps. This video, most TIs that know me have seen it. It's under the City of Austin Video Files. It's my other YouTube channel called City of Austin Video Files, and it's under the City of Austin playlist on that channel. And it has a few of my videos from my main channel called First Amendment to the United States Constitution. All the views have been removed by YouTube. It had like well over a million, and gosh, a lot of subscribers. One time I had like over 8,000 subscribers, but now everything is hidden, so you cannot see none of my data. It may show a couple hundred views because once I made the channel private, it deleted all the views and everything. So you can see some of my unlisted videos through there, through this channel. So hold on one second. So as many of you guys know, I've been complaining about this since I've moved here to Austin. This video was taken around 2016, and we're in 2019, and the harassment hasn't stopped. And it's really interesting when you really look at my videos and you see the connection between, all these different agencies. It's like it's very clear that they're all working on the same page. Your local police, from having the state attorney saying, "Hey, we're here to help the state, not you," to them refusing to help, to writing the state governor, lieutenant governor, to define that the lieutenant governor helps facilitate the Citizens Corps programs. And I think even the Fusion Center's Office for Emergency Management is actually at one time was listed the governor's emergency preparedness office, where I've actually been harassed. So I've been harassed at the same places where most people would go if they're seeking help: your Department of Safety, your police, COPS program, U.S. Army Department of Defense, so Inspector General's office. I mean, I've been harassed even at FEMA's offices when I've just been there politely just seeking help. So, and you may have these strange encounters where you get out of a place and you notice there's cars, two cars, or maybe even five with no tag. I had it happen where I was in Austin, New Mexico, before I moved here. I was being harassed by people that didn't have a license plate. And these people were a lot of times in their late 70s. And you may decide after being harassed a couple hundred times, like I did, to get a GPS tracking device and discover that these people are tied to like American Legion, Freemasons, Shriners. And this guy, before I was passing to this leasing office to pay my monthly rent, he parked his car, and right when he got out of his car, he turned around and waved at me for a couple seconds, and I wasn't even looking at him. He walks. I go in there and pay my rent, and he's just standing there on the phone. The exact moment I get out, he walks up to me, waves at me, and gets in his car and leave. So I mentioned in this video that from my other channel that I was being harassed by people that drive unmarked vehicles, and there was a few times where I had confrontations with people from a group called Infraguard, and they utilize universities, colleges, fusion centers, and police reports. Two of them were actually changed. I have an actual video of what happened at one university while I was going to a law library, and these people would park their cars next to me, be an unmarked vehicle, and come to find out it was the FBI. And they'll utilize people like Department of Justice and their stakeholders, the COPS program. They were following me around, and they were dropping off. It was the craziest thing. I could be going home, and once I'm about to get to my house, they would drop off some people, like 8, 9 people out of two different vehicles, and they start walking around a whole entire neighborhood in different directions. Like they do this coordinated walking. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's like this synchronized walking where there's one person on each side of the road and maybe in the middle of it, and the exact moment you pass by, then they start walking. One walks to one forward, the other one walks a different direction. It's crazy. I have to show it to you to describe it. So, bear with me one moment. And then also, I've had some very, very strange encounters. I was recently at this park, and it's on the outskirts of Austin. I drive up there because even though it's far away from Austin, it's on the outskirts. It's a really nice place to walk, and I was hoping to not experience any harassment. It's called Bushy Creek Park, and I had to file a stalking complaint. If you watch this video and you watch it very, very carefully, you will clearly see what I go through. But you have to watch the whole thing. And I go through this thousands of times per year. And these people had two kayaks. It was very, very obvious there. I watched them observing me. And I was actually, in this video, actually talk about what I go through before it happens. So that way people can see about what I go through on a daily basis. Isn't that something when you look at some of my videos, I tell you um, what's going to happen, and then it happens, and it happens sometimes thousands of times. I've been harassed. To say I've been harassed 1,000 times by women here in Austin would be an understatement. I've been harassed thousands upon thousands of times per year, and a lot of the harassment happens at gas stations, in 3 states, libraries, on the road. They'll get behind me, they'll start honking the horn, and then when they pass by me, they'll get in front of me, wave at me, and maybe flick me off. But it's not because of my driving. When I look at their vehicles, I start noticing it can be Eastern Star, Lions Club, Rotary, and then I can go at a park and see that same person, and they'll honk the horn, park next to me, and wave, and then go and take off. So it's done covertly to piss you off, and it's done with select members. These people use select members. It's not the whole group, and they use certain people. And these people have confronted me and walked right to, like, I was at a place, I made it to my doctor's office an hour early, like, no, like 45 minutes early. So I said, hey, is there like a park or somewhere close by? I can just, go sit outside and, chill, meditate, whatever. And they're like, yeah, down the road. So I go there, there's no one there, and this guy walks up to me, and I edited most of this video when we had a conversation, and I promised him I wouldn't put it on there. He said, you're gonna have to turn that camera off. And he works for the COPS program. They wear black clothes, kind of like some of the FBI agents, InfraGard, the CERTs, emergency preparedness. They wear the black shirts with the green reflective vest. And confronted me, and he put his hand underneath the back of his shirt as he walked up to me like he had a gun. And as I walked past him, the wind was blowing, and I said, you don't have a gun on you. He said, how do you know? Because the wind is blowing against your shirt. You don't have a weapon. I says, why are you pretending like you're going to shoot me? So I started talking to him, and he works for the COPS program, which is funded by Department of Justice. So a lot of these mass shootings our country could be having could be coming from Department of Justice. We need to watch the garbage, people. We got a trash problem here. If we think that a lot of these people in prisons and on our streets that have made mistakes are bad, we got some real trash in our Department of Justice. It's just my opinion, because if you're doing this in populated places with people that aren't like me, that are spiritual, respect life, if you're dealing with someone that's on the edge and that's emotionally distraught or disturbed because of all the harassment, it can cause serious problems. And they're using kids too, people. Have had this happen where they pull up and they drop kids off in black shirts to walk up to me and harass me. I tell these little kids, hey, stop what you're doing. And they stop. And they've done it multiple times. And one lady tried to do the same exact thing, and I've never owned I haven't, I mean, I've owned a gun before, but it's been over 20 years. But since I've been out, uh, since been here, I haven't owned a weapon. It's been like over 20 years. Since I've owned like a firearm, but I have previous training like in shurikens and some other stuff, so I'm able to, my operational capabilities allow me to do some serious damage, but I don't believe in violence. I've been here 4.5 years, and as many TIs know, the only thing I do is ask for help, write thousands of letters, emails. I've done this, the past year, year by year, asking politicians for help. So this is one of the indicators. So they want to sensitize you. So every time you see someone wearing black or driving a white car, you think you're being watched, you're being harassed, and it has nothing to do at all. Let me say this again. It has nothing to do at all with community policing when the harassment extends state by state. They're utilizing the same tactics on me, state by state, and they're not doing confrontational policing. They're harassing me and they're threatening me. And these activities these people are doing, mark my words, these people are not careful, they're going to cause our nation serious problems. And I'm not saying that I would do anything. I'm just saying that if they're doing this to other people and they're persistently harassing people, especially our children in our schools, God knows what these kids could do. You know, God knows what can happen. So this is done persistently. This is done all day long for some targets, and they do it around people's families. I've seen cops do this, where they may park a police car next to you, then another white car can pull up, and then they may be communicating. And then once you go into a store or a gas station, you know, they can be whistling, laughing, hey, stupid, you know, whatever, and then saying a low tone voice, and this is done nonstop to degrade and demoralize you. And also know that a lot of your sheriffs, it's select sheriffs and police officers tied to city commissioners at times. They get involved in this to try to show off and stuff. We've actually have had some people. There's been some targeted individuals which are they don't call themselves targeted and they don't call themselves targets because they don't know what it even really is. So they just say police harassment, and there's been some people that have gotten shot. I believe here, even in Austin, and we've had some events in Austin, which I believe are actually possibly linked to this program. So we need to say no to violence. I make these videos because I have nothing to hide. I don't own a firearm. I don't harass no one, and I have gained enough information now where I can leave America. And there's four other nations where I seriously doubt the USA or any GS4 or FBI is going to have any power or authority. If anything, they probably would be tortured and shot like the CIA agents, which have done some stuff out in China, you know, because there's a few countries that really don't care for us. And if I was to go with what I have to, you know, with what I have concerning 9/11 and how a lot of people know about my story, about the information, about the pen that was given to me, and I did research on it, and I discovered some stuff about a company that left days prior towards the bombing, and they broke a lease, and I set the pen, because no one would listen to me. I was being harassed, wasn't making any accusations after making a video, and I just sent it to Russia, to, what's it called, Putnam? I think I pronounced his name right. Anyways, because he believed that the World Trade Center was a false flag, and we have what was it called the Northwoods Operation Northwoods. There's been different operations, which I believe are nothing more than false flags to meet certain agendas, not for the people of the United States, but for people that are paid off by these the different Zionist lobbyists. So we have governors all across the U.S. which want to prohibit free speech, that despise our constitutional rights, and they want to defecate on it. And then on the side that they want to promote all these laws, we need to support constitutional rights, but it's not. It's okay for you to say anything bad about any other people or nation, but you can't say anything bad about certain people. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to criticize because now it's a crime. I can actually be arrested if I'm not careful about my speech because of all these different laws. I call these people anti-Americans, the ones that hate our Constitution. And our fusion centers are going along with the program. So I've gained a lot of video footage and tags in the future. When I move from here, I'm going to be sharing a lot of footage concerning people from fusion centers and a lot about their lives, what they do, and how we can do more to monitor these threats and different groups which seek to incite violence against the United States government and the people of America. Before I go, I wanted to share one more thing. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find it. Now, I had an experience. I think her name was Rachel A. Rollins, and it's like Rollins. And I see another guy lives in this area. I don't know if that's like a relative. He used to work for Overwatch, but I had these people. It's like 2 days ago. I'm walking. I go back to this park because I'm not gonna, stop going to a place that I like to walk. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm not a sex offender or a drug dealer. I have just as much right to be there as anyone else. And my doctor gave me an order to walk 30 minutes a day. And by God, I'm going there. I'm going to be walking. So as I'm walking, these people pass by me and they scream off the top of their lungs. I think it was a black guy and they're young girl. They're probably like in their early 20s. And they walked about 300 feet. And as I'm walking back to my car, they walk back. And I see a car not parked, just like off the side of the road with two kayaks, but people aren't going kayaking. They leave the car there and I start walking. So I started noticing that the Parks and Recreation were looking at them like, hold on a second, you're not going kayaking, you're leaving your car parked on the side of the road, but you're not going to park. And these people, once I got to my car, they got together in a group and just started looking at me, monitoring me, and we just started walking in a group. And these people do very subtle things because they want to degrade and demoralize you in a very, very secret way. And I'm not saying that I was harassed by these people, but when you're taking a walk and you scream 12 inches away from someone off the top of your lungs, you're looking for a problem. And when that happens every time you take a walk, if you're walking with your child and someone did that, what would you say? You'd probably say, hey, have some respect. You'd probably mention it on nextdoor.com. And by the way, nextdoor.com is a community mobbing platform. I've been mobbed on nextdoor.com by sharing stuff. People have told me you're sharing damaging information to please stop it. And bunches of neighbors get involved. I'm like, yeah, he's right. When you're just sharing a crime, and your local police, your city mayor, city commissioner do not always know about the stuff, but a lot of times people in your city, they're very, very well aware of these activities, and they're very, very well aware that they could cause mass shootings against the United States government. This is not China at all, people. We live in a country where getting an AR-15 is something you can just order from the internet, and where there's kits and machines where you can make your own stuff at home. I mean, so you can make some stuff that'll make Department of Defense want to do a hoorah if they had any, these people, when it comes as far as protecting our country. So we need to respect our troops, DOD, and different agencies, but they also have to respect our constitutional rights. And I really feel like, TIs, we've reached a point where we really don't have to make any more videos about concerning. I mean, we should, but we've reached a point where I think we've already proved our point after watching videos from other TIs. We've already made a loud and clear message that this program is real. There's no conspiracy theory about it. It does have the potential to cause mass shootings, according to professors, and we have to say no to violence. And we should continue to expose this program. Maybe make some more videos in the future. If I don't, it's because I've declared political asylum. I'm looking at two different countries, and I've even thought about as far as even North Korea. It's worth dying to, I mean, doing whatever it takes to have freedom. Even if I live in a communist country, as long as I can not be harassed, I'm free. And that's worth dying for. That's worth living for. And being a targeted individual has benefited me in some ways because it's given me the strength and the ability to become a better person, and not just that, to be able to document extreme threats to the United States government. Thank you for listening.